Well, we finally got the GSI chassis here. We kind of were involved with this chassis the whole way through. We've done quite a bit of these trucks, so the guys over at GSI knew that we would have some insight for the chassis. So we got to actually be a part of, we didn't design it. I'm not going to take credit for designing it, but we got to be a part of the design. And the cool thing about that was we actually got to go up to Las Vegas to the laser cutter and watch them cut these rails out of 2x5 for the main rails and 2x3 for the back portion and the front portion. So it was cool to take a trip up there to Precision Tube Laser and see the rails being cut out. And then we took a couple trips over to GSI and actually saw them putting the chassis together. So it was neat. It wasn't just like a point and click and buy the chassis. We were actually involved in quite a bit of it and got to see the chassis come together before it showed up over here.
Hey, so we're down at GSI Machine and Fab. I'm Scott, this is Chris. We're working away on Jeremy Rice of Tray 5 Customs, 1950 Chevy. This will be the first of this type chassis that we're doing. He's gonna take it to Sema if he can get it done. You know how he is, he takes a really long time to do stuff. Anyway, so this is a bit of a new process for us. We're starting with laser cut and formed frame rails, and they kind of get pinched and then they'll get welded. And like you see what Chris is doing right now is he's fixturing everything, clamping everything down so it stays nice and straight during the process. The rails will come off the table and then they'll get fitted with our kind of signature fabricated cross members. The bridge, the cross member, control arms, all that kind of stuff will still be laser cut plate and welded. So it'll still be cool, kind of a hybrid of what you're used to seeing from GSI and some of the other companies. Just sort of streamlines the process a little bit and still gives you a great product. I'll show you over here some of this laser cut stuff. So this is a frame rail that's been fixtured and tacked together, probably a third of the way through the process. These are fixtures for the passenger side rail, some tubing for sway bars and things like that, and then these are the laser cut frame rails for some of the other cross members and such. But this is basically a frame rail, and the other half's up there. Once it comes together, it'll be a chassis. So the reason we're doing frame rails like this is so we can produce a product that's just as nice with faster lead time. Guys aren't really interested in waiting a year for a chassis anymore, so we got to figure out how to make this stuff rock and roll quicker. So you're not lessening the quality by any means. It's still the same people building the stuff, same designers doing all the good stuff. Just sort of makes it go together faster so we can get it to you.
Bye, Felicia. So we got the chassis back from GSI. We kind of got it back in stages. Really, we got the frame rails first, or like the non-rolling chassis first. So we didn't have an axle from Curry yet. We didn't have the front suspension. We didn't have anything like that, but what we could do is get our engine placement down and our transmission placement down so that we could do the firewall. So before it was even a rolling chassis, we had the cab back on it, mounted up. We had the floor built, the firewall built, the tie-in from the floor to the firewall built. We mounted the steering column. We mounted all the electronics under the dash. So we like to do that long before paint, so it's all mocked up and we're not drilling holes through paint or anything like that. We have the Resto Mod AC already mocked up in there. We actually lined up the whole front end too. If anybody knows anything about these trucks, that takes about a day and a half with two people to get the hood and the fenders all lined up. But we did that, bolted up the US mags, bolted up the bare brakes, all that fun stuff. We did a really cool aluminum center section for the Curry housing and we had it polished. It was nice to get all the fancy stuff on there and roll it outside and check it out for the first time. As we've already mentioned, this is a LS3. It's a 525 horsepower version that comes directly from Chevrolet. These engine bays are always extremely tight. So what we've done is we've pushed the engine back, and we're able to do that because the GSI engine mounts slide about 3 inches. So we're able to put the engine almost all the way back. I think we're 2.5 inches back. All American billet pulley setup, of course. We made our own coil covers for this. And we actually have something else planned for those coil covers. So they're gonna look the same, but they're gonna be made out of something different. So you have to stay tuned and watch that. Like I said, we welded the outer fenders to the inner fenders. So there's a weld seam you can barely see right here. It goes all the way down. And that'll just smooth out under here for one. For two, it'll make it a heck of a lot easier to line this front end up because we obviously bolted them in place first and lined our hood up and got everything where it needed to be before we welded them. So we're just trying to do things like that this whole way, so that way the truck goes back together easier. Plus cool little things like this little cover, just to fill the gap from the radiator to the core support, cap is off. So that's it for now. I gotta go yell at Pyle because he hasn't been out here working on it the whole time we've been talking about it. So I gotta go find him, figure out what's taking so long to draw up a radiator shroud. And then next time you see it, there'll be even more work done because we're gonna, can't say haul the A word because it's YouTube, we wanna be YouTube friendly, but we're gonna haul butt. That sounds so weird. We're gonna haul butt on this thing.
Thank you for calling Marriott. Para espagnol, presione 2. Pour le service en français, appuyez sur 3. How can I help you today?
Reservations.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Let's try again.